Hello and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Anusha Soni. Competition and differences within a political party are often a healthy sign in a democracy. However, when competition turns into feud and leads to a vertical division within the party or even affects the stability of a government, that's when it's a warning sign for any institution or any political party. The case being in point is the Congress right now. If the battle between DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah was not enough, you have another Congress leader, Zameer Khan, who has jumped into the controversy. DK Shivakumar has called for disciplinary action against him. These developments come in the backdrop of the upcoming assembly elections in the state, which are slated for next year. Siddharamaya clearly wants one more innings, and Shivakumar's political ambitions are no secret. Will this be yet another stalemate for the Congress party, costing them yet another election, or they will be able to get their act together at least this time? First up, a special report.
There is a big twist in the one-upmanship battle between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar in Karnataka. Zameer Ahmad Khan, a Congress leader and a Siddaramaiah loyalist, has now taken a swipe at Shivakumar's Chief Ministerial ambitions and his mission of wooing the vokkaliga community. He said, and I quote, "Can I become the Chief Minister with just Muslim votes? We need all communities." The remark didn't go down well with KPCC Chief Shivakumar.
Congress Discipline Committee will take action.
But this only further emboldened Zameer Khan.
Zameer Ahmad Khan ಬಾಯಿ ಯಾವಾಗ ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತದೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ನಾನು ಸತ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚೋದು. ನನ್ನ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯಾರಿಂದನೂ. ನಾನು ಸತ್ರೆನೇ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ನನ್ನ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರಿಂದನೂ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಸತ್ರೆನೇ ನನ್ನ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ.
This war of words comes days after Shivakumar made a clear pitch to be the party's chief ministerial face in next year's assembly elections. Even though the Congress High Command has sent a message of collective leadership to Shivakumar and his arch-rival Siddharamaya, DKS has been trying to consolidate the vokkaliga vote bank.
Karnataka people wants Kannadiga Mukhyamantri. The Congress party inner fight is going on. They were making a caste politics.
As the divide in Karnataka Congress grows, will it be advantage BJP in 2023?
Well, joining us on the broadcast on the special discussion is Mohan Vishwa. He's the spokesperson from the Karnataka BJP. We also have Mr. Nagaraju Yadav, who's the spokesperson for the Karnataka Congress. Mr. Abhishek Banerjee, who's a columnist, is also joining us on the broadcast. And Professor Chandan Gaura, who's the R.K. Hegde Chair, Professor at the ISEC, the Institute for Social and Economic Change, is also with us on the broadcast. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on the show. Mr. Nagaraju Yadav, coming to you first. Will the Congress party be able to get its act together this time? Or this is a repeat of yet another very unfortunate episodes that we have seen, say in Madhya Pradesh or almost on the brink, for example, in Rajasthan?
No, definitely it's not going to happen like Madhya Pradesh or any other state. Karnataka is completely different in political nature, and definitely Congress will come back to power because people are fed up with the BJP's corruption rule. And you've seen your own channel has exposed so many times the capital city, what kind of a city is become today. It's become a garbage city, now pothole city. The Silicon City has gone to what level. You have seen that whole world is talking about Bangalore today. And second thing, you've seen that how the Vishwarappa minister was involved in a corruption, and you've seen how people are very angry with this when the Santosh Patil died. And also, you know it very well how they're misusing the law of giving a B report to the corruption cases.
But sir, allow me this interjection. You will be able to raise all of these issues far more vociferously if your own party was a united lot. If the top two leaders of the Karnataka Congress, sir, are fighting with each other, that too openly, and Mr. DK Shivakumar has to call for a disciplinary action against one of the Congress leaders, what does it show about the party?
No, I'm telling you, let it be anybody, let it be Nagaraj Yadav. We should have some discipline in the party, and that cannot be tolerated if somebody is trying to violate the discipline of the party. No doubt about it. When the KPCC chief has said not to speak about these things because we believe in collective leadership, and also Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi has made it 100 times clarified. They're saying that we believe in a collective leadership. Collective leadership is the agenda for Congress, and we want to bring all sections of society into power by Congress coming back to power.
So let me raise
Zameer
another
Ahmad
point
Khan
with
is
you before I bring in my other guest. Then why there was a very particular pitch by Mr. D.K. Shivakumar to the vokkaliga community? If this is about inclusive development beyond caste lines, which it should be, I agree that all political parties make that pitch, but the similar pitch was made by your party as well to the vokkaliga vote bank in the state.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead if you can hear me.
You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you. All right, we'll try and fix that. In the meanwhile, I want to go to Mr. Mohan Viswa, the Karnataka BJP spokesperson. Mr. Viswa, the problems and the troubles within the Congress party, the BJP must be very ecstatic looking at it. However, they go on to say that do not focus about the problems within the Congress. Instead, look at the bad state of affairs or the rule of law which the BJP has failed to establish in the state of Karnataka.
See, Anusha, the present situation of Congress in Karnataka is like Ghar Ek Darwaza Chalis. I'm repeating again, it's Ghar Ek Darwaza Chalis. So every leader wants to become a chief minister. It started from Siddharamaiah, then it went to D.K. Shivakumar, then it went to MP Patil, then Zameer Ahmad Khan, then next Parmeshwar, then next Mr. Karme. The list keep on going. They don't want developmental politics. They don't want the development of the people of the Karnataka. They just want, they're hungry for power, and also they're known for decisive politics. Up to Mr. Siddharamaya, the moment you go in front of him and if you talk something, he will talk only about caste, nothing. So they are known for dividing the society based on caste. So they don't want any developmental politics. And see, there is something called
in all fairness, doesn't that criticism hold true for all political parties, whether it's an appeal to the vokkaligas or the Lingayat community?
See, in politics or in any government for that matter, we should take care of every caste, every religion, every subcaste for that matter.
Yeah.
So that should happen through development. Okay, the caste itself should not become politics. Whereas in politics, there should be a representation for caste. So there is a difference between those two. The difference between the two is, yes, a leader from a particular community should be there in the government. It doesn't mean that that particular caste itself should become a politics. See, that's the problem with the Congress.
Let's try and take an apolitical view about what is happening within the Congress party. Professor Chandan Gowda, I'm coming to you. Do you see this as a vertical split? I mean, the fact that there is serious attempt being made by Mr. Siddharamaiah to show that he's not retiring from politics. Next month on his birthday, it is being reported that there are youth celebrations which have been planned. The party or the workers are going to show, or his supporters are going to show the sort of work that he has done. Mr. D.K. Shivakumar is also consolidating his image. How do you see this ahead of 2023?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They can be seen as isolated events, standalone events, but they're not. In the sense, as you saw in the last few days, based on various Congress spokespersons, politicians' remarks, responses, it's very clear that there's a leadership tussle inside. Leadership in the sense of who might be a strong contender, who CM's position. And it's very unfortunate that this contest has come out in the open, has started this early, even before the elections have happened or the party has won, really. So it makes for, it's unfortunate. I mean, one would rather not see these sorts of things. But having said that, I think speaking in the name of a community A, community B is not, new. And this has been done all along, whether discreetly or not. But at the same time, I think the tendency to claim leadership of this community, that community is fairly natural. But we do know that, except perhaps with the exception of Yediyurappa and to the extent Deve Gowda, there is no pan-Karnataka caste community leaders don't exist.
I also want you to give a little bit of perspective about the realignment of the certain vote banks which are happening. As I read about this issue, there's also the entire discourse around the Ahinda vote bank, and is it shifting from one side to another? Is BJP making inroads? And of course, one factor is also the divisions within the Congress party. As far as this vote bank is concerned, do you have anything to say, and especially vis-a-vis the Congress party?
Yes. If Siddharamaya wants to proclaim himself as an Ahinda leader, but then the talk is all about Kurubas assembling in large numbers for his birthday celebration. It's not quite Ahinda. Some communities have been left out. And then Kharge and Parmeshwar met yesterday, saying that here we are representing this other big community. Zameer Khan making a claim as part of his community. So they are all big chunks, of communities that can matter hugely for the electoral, fate of the Congress. And it has to be managed, if at all, we speak in these terms much more finely. I mean, this sort of infighting within, saying that, it does not bode well. But at the same time, the BJP and the JDS, for that matter, are not going to just sit by and watch this happen, or this, this sort of claiming, large communities as legitimately their vote bank is something that will, it seems premature. They're not solidified vote banks across the state. I don't think any community votes more than 40% of a community votes for one party as things stand, except maybe the Lingayats.
Abhishek, I'm coming to you and talking to you about the problems or issues within the Congress party. As Professor Gaura said, that if these problems within the Congress are not handled adequately, at the right time, in the right phase, in the right manner, then it could be an advantage BJP or the JDS. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, Anusha, what I would say is that from a citizen's perspective, it is quite alarming to see the continued failure of the Congress to play an effective opposition. I mean, election in Karnataka is 1 year away, and you can already see the level of infighting that has broken out. To give you an idea of the level of dysfunction, if I remember correctly, recently the Congress in Karnataka has appointed as many as 40 different state vice presidents, and I think some 108 or 109 new general secretaries. So you can imagine, I mean, the leadership is really a mess. And now you have Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar. Both of them are really big political leaders with big political legacies, and they are not able to resolve their differences. The differences are coming out in the open. There is a caste dimension to this. I personally believe that the Congress is failing to appreciate the fact that overt caste politics in our country, at least the overt caste pitch, is losing its power. You need something more than that. I think the overt pitch, all the way from Uttar Pradesh to Maharashtra to Karnataka, this appeal is declining. Now the question is, how do you resolve these differences? I mean, of course, any political party will have differences. I think there are three ways to resolve these differences, and I think Congress lacks all three. First is if you have a very competent and very powerful central leadership. Clearly, the Congress does not have that. Second way to resolve these differences is if there is some overriding ideology that brings the party together, which allows people to move ahead of their personal ambition. To what extent the BJP has that, and the Congress doesn't. And the third way is if you have a very solid, robust kind of intra-party democracy. That is, okay, people have their ambitions, let the party workers vote, and, there's some free and fair process.
That's a wonderful point, Abhishek, that you've made. And it's only fair that I go to Mr. Nagaraj Yadav. Sir, those are pertinent points that Abhishek is making, and he's saying that good that you have too much talent within your party, even if it's a problem of plenty. Then let's talk about that much talked about issue that we have spoken about so many times. Is there a lack of leadership within the Congress party that you're not able to rein in these kinds of difference of opinion?
No. We definitely, as Mr. Gowda told us, saying that many talented leaders are here who are able to be a Chief Minister of the state. And you have also taken the past, you have seen that Siddharamaiah Saab and your administration is there. Result, whatever may be there. But he had kept up the promises made by Congress manifesto, and we have kept up the word what we given to the people. Now, earlier you asked me a question regarding the vokkaliga politics and all that.
Yes.
DK Shivakumar may be belonging to a vokkaliga community, but he has appealed to the vokkaliga community also to vote for Congress, and at the same time he requested all the communities to vote together, and he always again and again said that we believe in a collective leadership, and High Command has said that. Even Siddharamaya has acknowledged it by saying that nothing wrong in
Then how does one understand the statement of Zameer Khan, sir? How does one understand the statement made by the another Congress leader today?
Zameer Khan, definitely we humbly, I like to tell in your popular channel that everybody should follow the discipline of the party when the guidelines have been, when Lakshman Rekha is put. I don't think Zameer is an exception to this, and he should understand his love may be little more towards Siddharamaya. Doesn't matter at all. But he is also a soldier of the Congress party, and he should be with the line of the party. No doubt about it. I don't have anything to say on that matter. But Zameer Khan, with extra love towards Siddharamaya, he must have said that. But
Mr. Yadav, don't you think that if there are two top leaders within the Congress party, both are warring with each other almost publicly, that it divides the Congress party right at the grassroots level? And Zameer Khan, as you said rightly, is perhaps just an example for it. Because if you have the party workers divided, not fighting the BJP or the JDS, but fighting the leaders within themselves, how are you going to put up a good front before the BJP or the JDS?
Definitely we will put up a fight, because we know very well we are going on an agenda. We are going on an agenda of fighting the BJP by exposing them. For example, Ishwarappa's issue, take up 40% into the matter where Santosh Patil died. This is the main issue. And you see the development that is, CNN News 18 is an example and witness to it, to say that what is the status of Bangalore city today, and what is the status of the farmers in the North Karnataka. You have seen how people have been taken care.
I will invite a short comment. I will invite a short comment from Mohan Viswa on this issue as well, sir. One more point I want you to address before I go to Mohan Viswa and take his views. Ahead of the elections, just about 1 year, and these days 1 year is not a big time. You have to get going. BJP prepares for the elections much more in advance. So does various other regional parties. Look at a JDS or a TMC. Is the Congress really prepared? Are you going to declare your chief ministerial candidate, or the central leadership is going to put an end to all this factional war happening within the Congress party?
We have in Karnataka history, we have declared any chief minister candidate in the past. We have no idea of announcing a chief ministerial candidate. We will together a collective leadership, and our agenda is to talk about development and the failures of BJP, the government of India and state government. And also corruption is an issue, PSA scam is an issue, and number of issues. We have hundreds of issues to take on the BJP head on. We are not going to allow the BJP to do a polarization of politics, or we will not allow any religioustic politics in Karnataka state. We want a constitutional democracy in the place in Karnataka.
Mr. Mohan Viswa, do you want to come in there? And I also would like you to respond to various things, that the Congress leader said about the developmental issues within the Karnataka, the state of Karnataka, and various other poll promises, which according to the Congress party, the BJP has not fulfilled.
See, Anusha, it should be shame on part of Congress party or Mr. Nagaraj Yadav, who ruled the same BBMP for 4 years out of 5 years. We got into power only at the last year. Our party has become the mayor at the last year. He should understand that what they were doing for 4 years.
What is the last year?
Hello, boss, Mr. Empty Vessel. Mr. Empty Vessel. I know you don't know anything. You can make only sound. Keep quiet. Keep quiet, Mr. Empty Vessel. Keep quiet, Mr. Empty Vessel.
All right, Mr. Yadav, I'll come to you. I'll give you adequate opportunity to respond. Let Mr. Viswa make his argument. Let Mr. Viswa make his argument. Let Mr. Viswa make his argument. Mr. Yadav, please allow him to make a point. I'll come to you, sir. Please go ahead, Mr. Viswa.
No, the problem with Mr. Nagaraj Yadav is an empty vessel. He will just keep on shouting. He will keep on making noise.
Okay, no personal comments. Let's come back to the issue. Yes, Mr. Mohan Viswa.
That's what, Anusha. See, they were the one who were responsible for all the major problems of Bangalore. That is point number one. Then point number two. See, the point number two, as far as the same vokkaliga politics is concerned, I would like to make one point very clear here is, you should see the dual standards of same Congress party. Mr. Siddharamaya goes on to, stand a candidate against the vokkaliga leader in Tumkur and defeats Mr. Deve Gowda and also defeats Mr. Muddhaname Gowda from his own party. And this side, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar comes and he seeks the votes of vokkaligas. So what does it mean? One side, the same Siddharamaya, he scold vokkaligas. He speaks totally against
Mr. Yadav, please go ahead. Mr. Mohan Viswa, I've given you time. Mr. Nagaraj Yadav, a brief response from you, and then I'll go to other guests. Yes, Mr. Yadav, please go ahead. Your time, sir.
Yeah. See, what Mr. Mohan Viswa is not answering the question raised by CNN News 18 regarding Bangalore. He's telling the empty vessel. It's actually BJP's empty vessel today. We want vokkaligas, we want lingayas, we want backward classes, we want minorities, we want scheduled caste, everybody, because Congress.
You are not ready to listen. You are not ready to listen.
Mr. Viswa, allow him to speak. I'll come back to you.
It is only Hindus come to power. That is not acceptable in democracy and Indian constitution.
I don't think. Okay, I'm going to come back to the topic. I'm I'm going to come back to the topic of the debate, which is the vertical split within the Congress party.
And he has got no substance talk.
He will be
No,
keep
it's a
on
shame
shouting.
for Mohan Vishwa to come and tell BJP is doing work.
why he can't
Bangalore
even
City is
have
becoming a
the
garbage
debate.
city.
Okay, there is no space for personal comments here, Mr. Nagaraju Yadav and Mr. Mohan Biswa. Gentlemen, take a breath. I'll come back to you. Professor Gaura, I'm coming back. Abhishek made some pertinent points, and he said that within the Congress party right now, the three crucial elements that he talks about are central leadership or talking about an intra-party democracy. Also, the appeal to the larger caste vote bank, which is declining. Do you see these factors playing a part as far as Congress internal democracy, or many question if there's a democracy, that is concerned, and the ability of the party to sort out these differences? Because we have seen this issue crop up in various state units of the Congress party.
Yeah. So the assembly elections are almost 8 months away.
Yes.
And I can't imagine the Congress High Command, however weak or strong it may be at this point, is just sitting quiet any longer. I'm sure there'll be some attempts to patch up the differences between the leaders, etc. But yes, you can also see it as an evidence of democracy within the party that allows people like the individuals to make claims so freely. You can also see it positively that way, although it makes for bad optics in the eyes of the public. And what is essentially and behind the scenes reality within the BJP, let's say, where there are also multiple CM aspirants, it doesn't spill out like this. But the fact remains that there are, except for the JDS, where it's very clear who the CM candidate will be. The other parties, there are multiple claimants who will do all they can to get the position. But as far as the last question is concerned, I would expect the Congress High Command to do something in this respect. I mean, Rahul has already met them once, but that hasn't done much clearly. But I don't think that's the end of the High Command's efforts at patching things up.
Abhishek, I'm coming back to you. Yeah, please go ahead, sir. You had a point to make?
Very quick. I mean, this is a question you raised earlier about lower caste mobilization among the BJP.
Yes.
They have, among the Dalits, in Karnataka, you have two major divisions, which is usually called the right-hand and the left-hand Dalits. And the right-hand Dalits have traditionally been in the Congress. The left-hand Dalits have increasingly tilted towards the BJP. And that's because of BJP's efforts. Initially, they were moving towards the JDS, but no longer. And similarly, Mohan Bhagwat visited Karnataka a couple of weeks ago and met with heads of matas of lower caste communities.
Yes.
So they're mobilizing regardless of what happens on the Congress
and
front.
that's a direct detriment to the Congress party and also the JDS if that vote bank is slowly shifting. I want to go to Abhishek as well. Abhishek, you made a point about the decimating effect of identity or caste politics in this country. Unfortunately, or the reality of the politics is that strong caste identity, community identity, remains a reality on the ground. However, there's a shift and a change which is happening. As Professor Gaura was talking about, the mobilization of the so-called lower strata of the society, is that working in favor of the JDS or the BJP?
Yeah, so Anusha, what I would say is, of course, caste politics is still the biggest factor in Indian politics. What I'm saying is that people nowadays, they don't want to really admit overtly that, they don't want to hear overt caste appeal. It's there, it's under the surface. They just don't want to hear it. And you'll see the same thing in Uttar Pradesh, you'll see it in Maharashtra. People don't want to be told, I'm from your caste, vote for me. But the larger point that I want to make is that I believe the Congress is underestimating the BJP in Karnataka. They think Karnataka is a state just like Rajasthan or Uttarakhand, where the incumbent always loses. So the Karnataka Congress right now, they believe the election is already in the bag, so they are already over who will become CM. But one thing I want to explain is that there has been a massive change in the political geography of Karnataka. Previously, BJP used to fight only about 165 of the 224 seats. 59 seats of the old Mysore region, the BJP was simply nowhere. But after the 2018 election, the Congress made the strategic mistake of aligning with the JDS. As a result of this, the old Mysore region essentially...
Okay, I'm going back to our political get, Mr. Mohan Biswa and Nagaraju Yadav. Mr. Yadav, coming back to you. You are a senior leader within the Congress party, and most experts would say, I'm not even talking about your political opponents, that this is high time that the Congress High Command should step in. As a senior leader of the party, what are your expectations from the High Command, or how is it that you see this entire feud between Mr. D.K. Shivakumar and Mr. Siddharamaiah getting settled, because it has gone on for far too long?
No, I want to frankly tell you one thing. I being the chief of media cell today, I'm very much aware our leaders are aware, and what is the reason we have to come back to power in Karnataka, because people of Karnataka are suffering. We cannot have an individual agendas. And Shivakumar being a PCC president and CLP leader being the Siddharamaiah being the leader, both are important leaders of Karnataka state. We have Karge Saab and Parmeshwar and HK Patil are the senior leaders with us. We all have come to a conclusion that we have to defeat the communal forces in Karnataka, and High Command is always have a confidence on our leaders, and we'll go by the decision of the MLAs and the High Command. And Rahul Gandhi is participating in Siddaramaya's program.
One more direct question to you. One more direct question to you.
No differences at all. BJP is trying to campaign against Congress like this, saying that.
Well, sir, today it was a statement from your own leader that has sparked out this entire discussion that we are having at 6 p.m.
5 seconds, madam.
Sure, sir.
Basungoda Ethanol said 2,500 crores will spend if anybody wants to become a chief minister. This way governance has to be done in Karnataka state. 300 crores to be spent to become a minister.
Well, sir, these are exactly the right issues that any opposition party should raise. The question right now, which has emerged, and all thanks to the statement, and all thanks to the statement of the own Congress party leaders, is that is there a vertical split within the Congress party, and will the High Command be able to control it?
There is no question of split. There is no question of confusion. We will go together. We will believe in collective leadership. Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar will go together.
Mr. Mohan Viswa, I'm coming to you. The oft repeated or the expected allegation coming in from the Congress party is that you don't have development issues to talk about, and that is why you're playing up all these differences. The promises that were made in the poll have not been fully delivered to the people of the state.
See, Anusha, as I told you earlier, it's purely a vertical split, and also a Congress, a home with 40 doors now. Okay, and we have a lot of developmental activities to go in front of the people, and every department and the newspapers, if you read every day, you will come to know what are the kind of developmental activities Mr. Basuraj Bommai have done. He's almost finishing 1 year, and also Mr. P.S. Siddaramaiah has been done, and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Today in Karnataka, more than 1 lakh crore worth of national highway infrastructure projects are getting constructed. Please keep this in mind. Okay, we have a lot of developmental issues. October 3rd, Bangalore Airport Terminal 2 is getting inaugurated. We have one more metro line is getting inaugurated in December. We have Shivakumar Airport is getting inaugurated in December. There are a lot of developmental activities. Okay, as far as Bangalore is concerned, Mr. Bommai has given 6,500 crores under Nagarotpana Yojana. So there are a lot of developmental activities which our government have done. So we will go basis start only.
Okay, and I'll take the last word from Abhishek Banerjee and Professor Chandan Gowda. Professor Gowda, coming back to you and ending this discussion on a constructive note, as a political party, how is it that the Congress party can take care of the present situation? Because these are two very tall leaders of the Congress party with heavy political stakes behind them.
One possible route is to sit them down and convince them that if the party comes to power, there will be a power sharing arrangement. The CM's position will rotate across a period of time between the 2 or 3 claimants. I mean, that's one obvious way in which you can proceed. But it's a known method. It's been done before. It's also worked.
Yeah.
I don't see how else you could resolve this, because both the leaders are influential and they're both important for the party. So they'll have to reconcile.
Okay.
The terms of reconciliation I can't quite anticipate, but one obvious one is to offer them both, a shot at being CM for a period of time.
Abhishek, one last minute. What are your 2 cents on the story? I mean, you spoke about the problems within the Congress party. Do you have any suggestions for the grand old party?
Yeah, so what I would say is that the Congress should not underestimate the BJP, because the election this time is slightly different, because the BJP is now a contender in all the seats in Karnataka. Its weakness in the old Mysore region is over. Previously 60 seats, the BJP was barely there. And the Prime Minister's popularity is extremely high in Karnataka. So just like Uttarakhand slipped out of their draft because, they sent Harish Rawat to Punjab when he should have been in Uttarakhand. So the Congress really needs to get its act together, and they have to stop taking this election for granted.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Mohan Viswa, Nagaraj Yadav, Abhishek Banerjee and Professor Chandan Gowda for joining us on the broadcast. While most experts and political opponents would say to the Congress that do not take this election for granted, I'm sure that the Congress party is listening. And let's see whether they are able to resolve this feud between these 2 top leaders of the Congress party just less than a year before the elections. With that, it's a wrap. Arunima joins you on the other side.